WWE produced a 365 episode on Alexa Bliss, and this is their third episode in the 365 series. The first one was on Kevin Owens, the second AJ Styles. Both of those were good, but I'm really looking forward to seeing Alexa Bliss because she's had an eventful year, and a lot of time of the year was spent on injured reserve, basically. She had concussion issues, and it looked like there was a moment where she wasn't going to wrestle again. So this is her journey from the last year. It goes from WrestleMania 34 to 35, and we start. So the intro kind of recaps her career up to WrestleMania 34. That's where we're going to start. We hear about her NXT, and she says she wasn't chosen to be anything. That's not true. I remember Triple H posting a tweet before an NXT TakeOver show. It might have been the first TakeOver show, and he was doing a Twitter Q&A, and someone asked him, which female star do you think has the potential to be a big star on the main roster? And he said Alexa Bliss, and that was during when the Four Horsewomen were at their peak. He didn't say Charlotte, he didn't say Sasha, he didn't say Bayley, he didn't say Becky, he said Alexa. So they had a lot of plans for her, just an NXT. That wasn't really the best environment for her. Then, we go to when she was drafted in 2016 to SmackDown. Then she wins the SmackDown Women's title from Becky Lynch in the tables match. And then she's drafted to Raw. She beats Bayley for the Raw Women's title. And we go up to New Orleans, where this is where the documentary begins. WrestleMania 34 weekend. She's wearing a beautiful gold dress for WrestleMania. And we see her practicing her big entrance from last year's show, in which she was put up on the harness and lowered to the ring like she's a goddess. And we're at the WrestleMania 34 stadium. It's definitely a big set, and it just reminds me of how much WrestleMania's this year's set, 35, sucked. Why did they do that? It was just like a big screen. Last year's set was awesome, and 2 years was the monster screen, the monster stage, basically. But we're seeing her warm up for her match with Nia Jax. So we see highlights of the match with Nia Jax, and one thing I also wanted to mention with her entrance was also a play of the WrestleMania 25 entrance with Shawn Michaels, when he was basically lowered from the ceiling like he was lowered from heaven, and Undertaker was raised from under the stage from hell. So that was kind of cool. So this was similar to that. It was a goddess being lowered, and they show the process, and it is a bit dangerous. It makes you think. She does slip off, and there's a tragedy. The match they had was nothing. It was a boring match. It wasn't very good. I just remember the crowd being so dead. It wasn't like they were doing horrible in the ring. They were trying hard, just the crowd cannot give two shits. And they talk about the storyline. It was the whole fat-shaming storyline. She was calling Nia Jax fat, and she was hurting her feelings. And they both talk about how they both want to do better with body positivity. Alexa went through an eating disorder, and she's talked about many times in interviews. It almost took her life, I think, on two separate occasions. I think once when she was younger, and the second time when she was in college. And Nia has talked about her body shaming, positive body, whatever you want to call it. So they did like it. Just the match was just, they had Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens to tell her it was good. Believe me, no one remembers that match. That match was nothing. So our second destination takes place 4 days later, and this is day 5 of 365, and we're in Columbus, Ohio, Alexa's hometown, on April 12th, 2018. And we are talking about Alexa's breast augmentation surgery, also known as a boob job, and I feel bad for her. It's like she's embarrassed to have a boob job. You can tell she's really embarrassed by it. She doesn't say it, but it hurts her a bit that she has to explain it. I don't think she needs to. I don't think it's a big deal. She can have a boob job. Is there any heterosexual man that's going to complain about a girl with big tits? Who the hell's going to complain about that? Anyway, so she tells a long story. And she is explaining during her eating disorder when she was 17 years old. This is the second one. And it was getting really bad for her. And she was down to 85 pounds. And she's still very small. But my God, that's sad. An 85-pound girl at 17. It's like she had nothing in her body. And what happened was she believed she had the body of a 7-year-old boy. Because when you're so small and you're so skinny at that age, you don't have any breasts. There's no, they shrink into almost just regular tits. So she is really self-conscious about that, and she feels really bad about her body. And just looking at her, she's beautiful for a 17-year-old. She's cute, but she is so self-conscious with how she looks. she wants a boob job, and they think the doctors recommend it'll be better for her mental health. And she's going through explaining all of it. It's like, it's not that big of a deal to have a boob job. Anyway, she gets one, and it's recommended that you get new ones every 10 years, so it's probably been around that time, 10 years now. I think she's 27, so it makes sense. She gets another boob job. These ones are bigger, lucky for all of us. And that goes. She talks about her best friend, Erin. Well, I've seen her on Twitter before interact. They're really close. I don't know if we're going to see Erin in this documentary, but she explains it, and she comes off very likable and very sweet here. I kind of feel bad for her because I think a lot of people were like mocking her on Twitter when she first got the boob job, and she's a very self-conscious girl. So again, Alexa's coming off Lexi, we can call her Lexi here, it's her real name, Lexi Kaufman. Very nice person. It's like impossible not to like this person. I think she can be a baby face. I think she can be the super face that the fans will love her. Little girls like her. She's probably one of the top female merchandise sellers. She was for all. I think maybe Becky surpassed her. She did now. But Alexa's up there. She's very popular at little girls. And I think if they ever turn her baby face, they can tell the story and she will be a super face. She has such a strong future. I think they've done everything they could with her as a heel. Because just hearing her explain that, it's impossible not to like this person. So we skip ahead 66 days actually. Day 71, a lot of time to skip, and our destination is Chicago, Illinois for WWE's Money in the Bank pay-per-view, which took place on June 17th, 2018. So we see a lot with her and her friend Erin. And Alexa revealed Erin got over a couple brain tumors and she was sick. So the two of them obviously went through a lot together. She didn't go much into detail. It seemed like, I don't know if they were malignment or they were benign, but it seems like they were probably benign. But Erin sees Alexa win the title at Money in the Bank, and they celebrate in Chicago. They have dinner, and they show the WWE cameras. They show the two of them they're very close, they're best friends. They see them interact and them celebrating Alexa's title reign and Erin being tumor-free. Destination 4 is in Grove City, Ohio on July 25th, 2018. So she's in her hometown in Grove City, and this is where she grew up. They say they built her from Columbus, but if you notice, every WWE starts from a big city, so I think they just take wherever city or whatever state you're from. They take the biggest city in the state and just say you're from there. Grove City is a small city, and they don't want to say that's where she's from. But that's where she grew up. She's there interacting with some of her friends. She's at a pool party, and then we go to the next destination, and we are at SummerSlam. This is Brooklyn, August 19th, 2018. So at SummerSlam, Ronda destroys Alexa Bliss, kills her. The match is a joke. And it was kind of funny. They're showing the Bella twins telling Alexa Bliss backstage how good she did. It was a squash match. But the bigger focus was they were talking about Evolution, and they announced during that weekend, during a TakeOver actually, that it was going to be confirmed to be Trish Stratus and Alexa Bliss having a match at Evolution. And that didn't happen, and our next destination looks like Evolution, and I'm sure they're going to talk about all the processes, and that's where things started to go downhill for Alexa, and that's when I think a few weeks before the show, she got a bad concussion against Ronda Rousey in a house show match, and everything would go downhill for quite some time. So we get to day 162. This is in Sacramento for the match at Hell in a Cell against Ronda Rousey. This was her rematch with Ronda. So this is where the injury happens. I didn't know this. The first injury happened at Hell in a Cell against Ronda. I assumed it was just a house show, but Ronda does that judo toss, and seen her do that so many times in MMA, and it looks like it gives you a concussion when she did it to other girls in the UFC. She does it to Alexa, and Alexa is small, and she just lands right on her head, and Alexa gets a concussion, and she's diagnosed the next day by the Orlando doctors. Now, 3 weeks later, Vince McMahon tells her to heal, and this is where it gets worse. Now we get to the big injury. This is day 196. This is a week before Evolution in Hartford, Connecticut. It's a tag match. It's Alexa Bliss and Mickie James against Ronda Rousey and Nia Jax, and this is where Alexa gets badly hurt. So Alexa is diagnosed with another concussion, and she can't make it to Evolution. Now we get to the next destination, which is Evolution. This was in Uniondale, New York, and Alexa looks great on the show, by the way, I have to say. However, she can't wrestle, and they didn't announce this during the documentary, but the match was actually changed to a tag match. It was supposed to be Alexa and Trish, and they changed it to Alexa and Mickey against Trish and Lita. They just show Alexa looking sad at Evolution. They show her on the red carpet, and then, backstage, she's wearing that great outfit, by the way. Just, my God, she wear it every single time. Like, it looks insane. The white Maleficent outfit with the black lipstick, Jesus Christ, but they just show her kind of moping around at Evolution. I don't think she was that, sad about it, but that's the narrative they're trying to produce. I just don't know why they have to keep lying. We all know the match got switched. It was not going to be Alexa and Trish anyway. It was going to be a tag match, but they keep saying that it was supposed to be Alexa and Trish the whole time. So Alexa is back home now, and we see her mother, and her mother is gorgeous, and we know where Alexa gets her good looks from. Her mom looks like her big sister, really. She does not look like someone who's in her 40s. She looks like a woman in her early 30s. So we see her relationship with her mom, and they're very close, and they live down the street. And I'm thinking to myself, I see Alexa Bliss's house. How wealthy are these WWE stars? Now, Alexa is very wealthy because she sells a lot of merchandise, so that's the biggest reason probably. But my God, she has this giant indoor pool, and like all these jets come in, and the water shoots up, and there's lights, like Jesus Christ. And she built that, and she is a very wealthy woman. And I know all these stars make money, but like for her, I mean, she's young, and hey, good for her. She's done well. She even bought her parents her own home, and her mom was decorating her house for Christmas. And it's really nice seeing her interact. It's nice seeing Lexi. She's a very nice person. All the interactions you hear about fans with Lexi is nothing but positive. We see her playing with her animals. She has her pet pig, Larry, Steve. She posts them all over Instagram. Alexa is very likable here and a very nice person. It's very easy to really root for her. And as I said, she can be a great babyface. So during that time, though, there is some negatives, and that's when she talks about her problems at the Performance Center and her problems with concussions. It seems like for her, whenever she's able to make progress, something happens and she's sent back. It's like you take one step forward and two steps back. That's really been the story here. She was doing contact at the Performance Center, and then all of a sudden, in 2 weeks, she's actually called, and she's told you can't do anything for 2 weeks. Like, really, what the hell? And Alexa is very doubtful about her career, and she should be. I was probably thinking she's done. And I always felt Alexa Bliss, she doesn't need to wrestle. She is someone who WWE can use very well because she's beautiful and she's great on the mic. And she has a great look. She can carry a segment. She doesn't need to wrestle. And I still feel that way. I think, you know what? Why even risk it? Why let this girl have concussions? She sells a lot of merchandise. Little girls really like her. Let her do that. I think it's better just to keep her out of the ring. It's just not really healthy for her well-being anymore if she's going to have these concussion problems. So our next destination is Raw in Orlando, the first Raw of 2019, and this is the first moment of Bliss. We see her interacting with wrestlers in the pre-show for Raw when she's doing the whole moment of Bliss, and then we fast forward 2 weeks later, and she announces she's going to be in the Royal Rumble, and Alexa Bliss makes her return to the ring at the Royal Rumble. And day 295 is the Royal Rumble, which took place in Phoenix, Arizona on January 7th, 2019. And Alexa doesn't have a huge showing in a Rumble this year. She makes her return. She gets a good pop with her, but I don't think she was a big factor in the match. So for Alexa, it's not really about the Rumble. It's just being back there. She tells the story of when she first comes out for the Royal Rumble, she was number 26. She just wants to take it all in. She walks to the ring even though everyone else was running. She just wanted to feel it. The crowd loves her. They were really happy to see her back. And it was like they were really cheering her out of respect for her to see her back wrestling and the fact that she's not going to have to retire. And she thought she was going to retire. And I thought at that time, I had no idea what's going on, but it seemed like this is probably going to end in a retirement, because this is how this usually happens. We all know what happened to Daniel Bryan, and that's what I was expecting for Alexa. But luckily for her, she caught a break. She is on limited time. She's most likely going to get another concussion, and it'll eventually end for her, but it was nice to see her career get extended. And it was nice to see her back at the Rumble, and it was cool. And they even show her backstage watching the rest of the match. I think she was next to Bayley. So the next destination is Raw in Pittsburgh on March 11th. So this is where she announces she's going to host WrestleMania. And this is a big opportunity for her, and it tells you how much the WWE looks at Alexa Bliss as a star, and she is. She sells a lot of merch for them, and again, she's really attractive. She's beautiful. She's very good on the mic. She has a lot of charisma. Again, her ring skills are not the greatest. We all know that. Very limited. But they view her as a star, and they gave her the host of WrestleMania. And that, when I heard that, it was like, wow, they really, really love her. And they gave her a long title reigns already, but giving her that spot, they have a lot of confidence in her. And you look at who has hosted WrestleMania. She was the fourth official host for WrestleMania. You had The Rock at WrestleMania 27 in Atlanta. Then you had Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 30 in Orlando. And then 3 years later, you had The New Day at WrestleMania 33 in Orlando. And did I say Hogan, Orlando? Hogan was New Orleans, actually. And then 2 years later, WrestleMania 35, this past year, Alexa Bliss hosts WrestleMania 35, New York City. And that was a big deal to give her that role. She's not wrestling, she's not in a big match or anything, but to have her featured like that, they really see her as a big star. So we go to the day before WrestleMania. Alexa is in New York. She is standing behind the Brooklyn Bridge where all the water is, or under the Brooklyn Bridge. She's taking it all in, and then we see her at Hall of Fame, and she brings her mom, and she brings her mom every year. She's brought her 3 straight years, and again, her mom is a MILF. I am not complaining about that, but it is interesting. They don't mention Buddy Murphy. I thought I'd mention that. I guess they've been broken up for a while, since September, but there was no mention of Buddy Murphy. There was no mention of who she's dating. She has to be. Come on, a girl like that's not going to stay single. But we don't know. That's kind of kept secret. We don't really know who she's with right now. But we just see her doing interviews the night before WrestleMania, and now day 365. It's WrestleMania 35, the final day. So through WrestleMania, Alexa is the host, and she does multiple segments, and she keeps having to switch her dresses. That's what I remember in particular. She looked great on all of them, but she had to keep switching them. She had the shiny dress to start, which was the long sleeve one. And when she comes out, she introduces us to WrestleMania. She's the first person we see come out, and she announces that she can make anything happen with the snap of her finger, and that's when Hulk Hogan comes, and she poses with them. It looked really cute and really funny. And after that, she has multiple segments. She does a backstage segment with the 2 Saturday Night Live guys. She does the attendance record later in the show. She does a comedy segment with Ron Simmons. And there's one on the pre-show she also did. So she has so many different dresses. She did a great job there. And sooner than later, she is back in the ring. But they go after WrestleMania. It's weird. We've seen so many documentaries on WrestleMania 35, and the show hasn't even been 3 months old. We saw the Becky documentary, that whole thing. Most of it took place during WrestleMania. The Ronda 24, which also took place during WrestleMania. We've seen a lot of it. And now an Alexa documentary, and a huge portion of it takes place during WrestleMania. So we're seeing a lot of WrestleMania 35. And we have even had the 24 documentary of that, and that doesn't come out till January. So this has been, WWE did a lot of filming this year at WrestleMania. Also wanted to mention that Maria Menounos narrated the documentary. She did a very good job. And now we're getting to the end of it. She talks about her struggles of being afraid of her career being over. And we see her just interacting with wrestlers backstage. I know her 2 best friends are Nia Jax and Ember Moon. I didn't realize how close her and Ember are. And I knew her and Nia were good friends, but her and Ember, I think, are just as close. They're very tight. So we definitely end on a high note. She's back in the ring, And this was a very good documentary. I think this was probably my favorite 365, and I really like Alexa, so maybe I'm biased, but I definitely thought this was better than the AJ 365, which I didn't think was very good. And I would say it's better than the Owens one, and that was good too, but I think I'll enjoy this a lot, because I really like Alexa Bliss. Lexi Kaufman, real names, absolute sweet person probably, very likable, and I found her really enjoyable, and you really root for her. It's really sad, and I don't know how I feel about it, because you have a sense that this girl doesn't need to wrestle. Does she need to sacrifice herself? But then it makes you think she wants to do it. And it's hard not to root for her. So Alexa Bliss, I'll just leave it at this. She needs to be a babyface because she can be a great babyface. She can be the top face for the woman. That's how good of a babyface she can be. People don't really realize that she's great as a heel, but I'd really like to see her turn as a babyface and be that inspirational underdog babyface who's beautiful. The girls love her. The guys will love her. I think she'll do a great job. So all in all, great documentary, and I'd highly recommend everyone watch WWE 365, Alexa Bliss.